What's up, guys? Jim here from DrinkABeerandPlayAGame, and today I have something a little different for you. Now, as we know, Brian's away on his honeymoon, congratulations, and he's left me here to do all the work. Now, since I don't know anything about video editing, this will be an interesting month. But I'll try to do a few things here and there, do some more uploads we talked about in the last vlog. Check it out. Now, the first thing I'm going to start doing is going to be hardware reviews. We do a lot of game reviewing, we do a lot of drunken long plays. But what we don't talk about is what makes these games tick. Now, when it comes to hardware reviews, I don't just mean the systems, I mean controllers, I mean peripherals, I mean add-ons, anything that came out to either increase or unfortunately decrease the enjoyment we get from our games over the year. The first piece of hardware I'm going to look at is going to be a console. And not just any console, but the TurboGrafx-16. Released in 1987 as the PC Engine in Japan, this was made as a collaboration between the software company Hudson Soft and NEC. This console is one of the first 16-bit consoles, and honestly, it's not exactly 16-bit. It's actually 8-bit, but it has a 16-bit graphics card, and it was released around the time of the Sega Genesis, so it's a common misconception. The TurboGrafx-16 made a lot of weird design choices. For one, it only had one controller port. That is very, very cheap of them to do. I understand the PC Engine was the same way, but come on guys, know your audience. Another annoying thing is the fact that it doesn't have an LED sensor, so you can never really be sure if the console's powered on. And if you're having problems with it, you're kind of out of luck. When you turn it on, all you get is this different color bar over here. Not the most accurate thing in the world. Another annoying thing about the console is that the RF cables are on the side of the console, along with the switch. Now, if this was your only console, it's not a big deal. But if you have a whole bunch that you're trying to cram into a small space, it can get pretty annoying. If you want to get AV video out of this, there is a solution though. And that's this guy, the Turbo Booster. Not really much to say about it, it's just a piece of plastic, but it puts the AV ports on it, puts them in the back along with the AC adapter, and it just overall makes the console playing experience a lot better. Not to mention it makes gameplay capture a whole lot easier too. Luckily, installing this is very easy. You just get the expansion port and slide it in. You don't get a satisfying click sound, but once it's on, it's on. Let's talk about the controller. Now, it looks like an NES controller, but it's a little bit different. For one, it's got this very nice 8-way directional pad. Besides the 2 buttons, it also comes with built-in turbo switches. Very cool. This is a very capable controller, and it just feels well built. There's one problem, though, and that's the cord. Unfortunately, the cord is only about 3 feet long, and that is completely unacceptable. An interesting thing about the console is the fact that it came on these. These are HUE cards, and these are what fit all the 16-bit graphical power. Compare that with an NES cartridge, which was only 8-bit, and the size, and that's pretty impressive. To compare it even better, let's go with another 16-bit console, the Sega Genesis. Now, here's the HUE card. Still smaller. Not only that, it's only about the width of 2 credit cards. That is crazy. Worldwide, the console sold about 10 million units, but only little over 2 million was sold in the United States, making it a commercial failure. It only had a library of about 94 games, but for the most part they were pretty good. Let's take a look at some of them. And here we have Bloody Wolf, a very fun run and gun game that reminds me a lot of both Contra and, you know what, some Metal Slug too. You run around, you blow up a bunch of enemies, you fight bosses, you rescue civilians, and there's a lot of different weapon upgrades you can get. It's just a really fun game. They try to change up the areas a little bit, some are more platform heavy than others, but overall, it's a really fun game that may not be as good as the other ones I've mentioned, but it's a great addition to the library. Here we have Bonk's Adventure. Now Bonk is a little cave boy that's the platforming mascot for the Turbo. He may not be as well remembered as, say, Sonic or especially Mario, but he's got his place in history. It's your standard little side-scrolling platformer game, but it has a few twists. The main thing is you have to use your head as your main weapon, and there's a whole bunch of different ways that he can contort his head. There's power-ups to get, there's slight invincibility,
cool abilities where you can freeze the ground once you're leveled up a little bit, and also some really cute graphics. The cutest of which could be in some of the boss fights. I mean, look at this dinosaur, you don't want to hurt him. And after you beat him, he becomes your friend. Gotta love it. Here we have the legendary X2, which is probably my favorite game that I own so far for the system. It's a side-scrolling hack-and-slash action game with some platforming elements, and it's just a ton of fun. Really crisp controls, some pretty good visuals, and some great-looking boss designs. I honestly love this game and keep going back again and again, even though at first you're gonna suck, but you want to get better, and you're gonna keep playing it. And last but not least, we have Splatterhouse, the only North American port for this game for a long time. And what a port it is. Besides a few censorship issues, this game plays great, it looks great, it's got a nice spooky soundtrack, memorable scenes, just everything about it's a classic. It's one of those games that everyone wished they had, and it's a definite reason to pick up the TurboGrafx-16.
At the end of the day, is the TurboGrafx-16 really for you? That's really going to depend. Honestly, if you're a guy out there who's sick of the NESs, the Sega Genesises, and the Super NESs of the world, and you want something different but retro, this is a good way to go. Be careful though, the entry point is not cheap, as games that come just in the jewel case alone go for at least $30 at their quality. So, pick and choose your battles. The base unit itself can go for at least $60 to $70. If you find it at a flea market, you are lucky because these are very rare. Also, the peripherals can also get really expensive as well. Controllers don't come cheap. The turbo booster, you're going to be paying at least $30 for AV video from your console. And speaking of needless money, the turbo tap will cost you at least another $20, and controllers aren't cheap either. But if this is a console that interests you, it's well worth the price. At the end of the day, this is a console that I really like. I don't have a lot of games for it, but I'm happy with all my games, and there's something to be said for that. Much like, well, the Wii U, it's got a small library, but for the most part it's quality. And honestly, if you can get your hands on one, it's a great investment. I just want to thank you guys for watching this video. As always, if you enjoyed it, do us a favor and hit that like button. Anything you can do to help the page out, we greatly appreciate. Also, let us know in the comments below if you enjoyed this video, and whether or not you want to see more hardware reviews. We would love to do them for you. We also have written beer reviews, written game reviews, blog postings, and a whole bunch of other stuff on our website, DrinkABeerandPlayAGame.com. Cheers, guys.